Ever since the ancient Greeks and Romans speculated about the nature of gravity, scientists have been trying to figure out what makes it so powerful. And while the answer to that question might still be a mystery, there are now some interesting new theories about gravity being developed thanks to the work of modern physics. What is gravity? Gravity is the force that attracts objects toward each other. It is the main force that keeps planets in orbit around the Sun, and it holds everything together in the universe. Gravity is what keeps us on the ground, and it's responsible for making asteroids and meteoroids fall to Earth. How does gravity work? Gravity is one of the most well-known physical laws in the world. It's responsible for holding planets, stars, and even galaxies together. But how does gravity work? And where did it come from? Most people think that gravity is caused by a force between objects. But this isn't the whole story. Gravity actually comes from the fact that all objects are pulled towards each other by a force called pressure. This pressure is caused by the weight of the object and the distance between them. Pressure is always pushing down on something, and it's what holds everything together in our universe. Without pressure, objects would be flying apart at high speeds. What are the effects of gravity? Gravity is one of the most important forces in the universe. It holds everything together and keeps us on our feet. But what are the actual effects of gravity? The most obvious effect of gravity is that it makes things fall towards the ground. Everything with mass attracts other things with mass, and this includes planets, stars, and even galaxies. This force is what keeps us on our feet, as well as holding everything together in the universe. Gravity also plays a role in determining how fast things move. For example, if you throw a rock upwards, it will travel faster than if you threw it downwards. This is because gravity pulls objects towards the center of the Earth, which is why objects fall faster at the Earth's surface. Gravity also affects energy and momentum. When an object falls to the ground, its energy is transferred to the ground. This also happens when an object moves through air or space. In both cases, momentum is lost or gained. This is why throwing a rock upwards can create a spiraling motion, because it loses momentum and starts to rise again. Do objects fall toward the center of the Earth? The answer to this question is a little complicated, but it has to do with the force of gravity. First, let's look at what gravity is. Gravity is a force that objects have between them and the Earth. It is what keeps us on the ground and makes things fall towards the Earth's center. Now, what happens if you take away gravity? Well, in general, things would fall towards the center of the Earth. But there are some exceptions to this rule. For example, if you were on a spaceship or in space, objects would stay in orbit around the Earth. This is because the force of gravity between objects and the Earth is weaker in space than it is on Earth. Why is Earth's atmosphere so heavy? The answer to this question is still unknown, but scientists have some theories. One theory is that the atmosphere acts like a shield, protecting the planet from extreme weather conditions such as strong winds and rain. Another theory is that the atmosphere slows down the motion of objects in space. This is because the atmosphere creates a drag force on objects, which in turn slows their movement down. Can we explain the universe's expansion using gravity? The universe is expanding. We know this because the galaxies are moving away from each other. We also know that the universe is getting bigger every day. And we know how the universe is getting bigger, by using gravity. Gravity is a force that attracts things together. Objects with more gravity, like stars and planets, pull objects with less gravity, like atoms and photons, closer to them. This force is what's responsible for the expansion of the universe. Why do objects fall towards the Earth? Objects fall towards the Earth because of the force of gravity. The further away an object is from the Earth, the more gravity it has and the greater the force of gravity will be. More about gravity. When you read about gravity, it's easy to get wrapped up in mathematical equations. But what does all of that really mean? And why do physical laws work the way they do? In this blog post, we'll take a closer look at gravity and answer some of the questions most people have about it. The expanding universe. The universe is constantly expanding. According to the laws of gravity, the farther away an object is from the center of the universe, the faster it will be moving away from the center. This means that the universe is constantly growing larger. How does gravity affect the universe? The force of gravity is the only force that keeps objects in our universe together. Gravity is what keeps us glued to the ground, and it's what holds galaxies together. Gravity also affects our everyday lives. It's what makes us fall down when we step off a curb, and it's what makes apples fall from trees. The force of gravity is so powerful that it can even hold the entire universe together. How does gravity affect us? Gravity is the force that attracts objects toward one another. It is what keeps us on Earth, and it also holds planets and stars in their place. Gravity is caused by the force of mass and the distance between the objects. The more mass an object has, the more gravity it has. Planets are more massive than stars, so they have more gravity. Gravity affects everything in the universe, from galaxies to atoms. It even affects light. What does the theory of general relativity say about gravity? General relativity is the most famous theory of gravity. It is a very complex theory, but it has some interesting predictions about how gravity works. One of the predictions is that gravity is a force between objects. This means that gravity behaves like an energy force. Another prediction is that the force of gravity depends on the mass and size of the objects involved. Does the theory of general relativity explain the origin of the universe? The theory of general relativity has been a cornerstone of modern physics for over 100 years, and its effects are even being seen on very small scales. But does the theory provide an explanation for the origin of the universe? Conclusion. We have all heard the saying that gravity is a force, and while that's mostly true, there is much more to gravity than meets the eye. From dark matter to the curvature of spacetime, gravity plays an integral role in our universe and has been doing so since its inception. So whether you're looking to learn something new or just want to be blown away by the power of gravity, read on for some mind-blowing insights.